Hi everybody, this is Ellie. Thanks so much for joining me today for a journal with me in my Hobonichi A6 Avec. I mentioned in my last video that I'm using journaling prompts from White Sugar Designs, so I do have those glued in at the front of my April daily pages. I have pre-prepped these pages with some watercolor plopping, and you'll see me here trying to decide which washi tape I'd like to use to start my decoration. I've chosen a brown striped washi tape and a simply gilded, and I've put them in this washi tape dispenser that was given to me for my birthday and just makes lovely little jagged lines. So you'll see me putting those at the bottom of the pages just to cover up the writing and the calendar. I have some idea of what I want to do with these pages, but as you'll see, it's some trial and error, and honestly guys, this is how it usually looks when I journal, so I'm just taking you along for the ride. Usually I like to use the same washi on both pages, or I might use some complementary washi that has similar tones. I don't need things to match, but I do like them to go together. One of the things that I do is I will write out my questions on some sort of box. So this is a sticker book from Michaels. It's called Homebody, fittingly enough, and it just has some really nice soft covers that I like. So I'll just flip back to this page at the beginning of April that has all of the questions, and I will write them with my Tombow mono pen in the size 03, which is bigger than I usually use. But I do like the questions to kind of jump off of the page for me. I'm trying to decide where on the page I'd like to put this question, and because it has that really nice floral design at the top, I am trying to line it up with the top of the page. I like how that looks, and I know I'm going to write the question for the 17th on a box as well, so I'm just trying to flip through and find one that I think goes well with the two-page layout. Again, they don't need to be the same, and sometimes they're a lot more different than this, but I do like them to have some cohesiveness. You'll see I do have a tab on the page that has the questions taped in just so that it's easier for me to flip back and forth. So I've flipped back and am writing the question for the 17th. So now I'm trying to figure out the placement for this question box, and I decide initially to put it in the bottom right corner. So I didn't put down the thinner Simply Gilded tape before because I wasn't sure what the layout would be, but since I figured it out, I cut a smaller strip and then put the question box right on top of it. And I do like how this looks, although spoiler, it does change, and I'll just explain why in a little bit. So now that I have the question boxes down, I am ready to start writing on my first page. The question for April 16th reads, "What is the one thing I am looking forward to when the quarantine is over?" And I really thought about that, and it was kind of hard for me to answer because even though I've made a list of things that I miss and people I miss and so forth, it feels like when this is over, things will be really different and also kind of the same. So I ended up deciding to copy out a poem by Emily Dickinson called "I Dwell in Possibility." And I will spare you my reading of it. I am not a poet, and I'm not really someone who analyzes poems either, but this poem to me is just about hope and joy and creativity and, of course, possibility. So I thought it would be really nice to just have that in here as a reminder, and it's just something I know I'll really enjoy looking back on. The pen that I'm using for these two pages is a Zebra Sarasa in the vintage colors. I'm not sure what the official color name is, but it's a dark brown in the 0.5. For April 17th, the question reads, "Who do I turn to for support when I am feeling down?" And I have this page ripped out from a Real Simple magazine, and it just shows a bunch of hands reaching out. And in this picture, they're, I think, building a sandcastle or something together. But for me, the significance was all of the hands of what I imagine are friends and family. And for me, that is who I reach for the most and turn to for support. So, let me tell you what's happening here. I'm trying to figure out where I'd like to place this picture, and I'm realizing that I think it would look best and most balanced at the bottom. So I've carefully peeled up the sticker box and the washi tape, and I'm moving that to the top of the page so that I can glue this picture or this magazine cutout at the bottom. I'm lucky that I was able to remove the sticker so easily, and the washi tape was fine. It did actually pull up a little of the paper, but since it was being covered anyways, it was no big deal. I'm just using the Tombow tape runner to glue that on the bottom, and I've left a little bit of space for my actual journaling, but that's pretty much all I need. I overlapped the bottom of the page there, so I was just trimming. So like I said, I'm just naming some family and friends and the people that I'm closest to and can be vulnerable with. And I also talk about how I'm learning to support myself through self-compassion and through kind of emotional literacy and understanding. So that's also, I think, something that's really important for me to note. I knew I wanted to add a little something on the page with the poem, so you saw me pull out some florals, but I put them away because I didn't want that to compete with the beautiful kind of banner where my question is. So these here are some transparent galaxy and star theme stickers with white detailing, but I realized that once I put it on, it really needs to go on a dark background. I thought it would still be visible enough, but it wasn't. So luckily I could peel that off too, and instead I've reached for my gold Posca Paint Pen, and I've decided to just try and draw in a few stars and sparkles of my own. I'm pretty happy with how these look. I might have preferred them to be slightly on the smaller side, but I do have, I believe it's the fine pen, so it's a little bit thicker, but overall I chose the fine set because it would be the most versatile for me. I'm also writing the number 17 right on the picture of the hands there, and you can't really see it on camera, but it is there in person, although it's faint. I don't remember where these stickers came from, unfortunately. I think it might have been Amazon, but I just pulled off a sticker with 4 cats and I put that on the page about people who I can turn to because it reminds me of my family, and I added a little cat with some hearts as well. I've pulled out the Pentel Dual Metallic pen in the gold just to add a little details to the floral banner there. And now I've gotten out my Signo in the white, and I'm just adding some details, and I went over the 17 and then promptly put my hand on it and smeared it. So once I realized, I just corrected it, and you can see me kind of turning the page every which way now to avoid that happening again. But yeah, I'm just adding some detail with the white, and I'm actually drawing on some white sparkles as well, which are subtle, but you can see them. So I do like how that turned out. When I think of possibilities, it reminds me of, infinity, which makes me think of galaxies and space. So that page turned out pretty well, I think. I'm just adding some final details, and it can be really hard for me sometimes to know when to stop, but I am really happy with how both of these pages turned out. I love having the poem in there, and I like all of the ephemera that I used as well. Thank you so much for joining me today for this journal with me, and I'll see you next time.